Combat and Coffee from Paulie TV here with Espresso at Cafe Sportivo on 18th Avenue in Bensonhurst, Brooklyn. How we doing? How you doing?
What's up, Paulie? What's
We
up?
hear a little bit of, if we hear a little bit of the commotion in the background, it's the fellas. We just watched the Champions League games. It's a little bit of an emotional moment because we didn't feel like the referee was very fair to Napoli in the Milan versus Napoli game. But we're here. Yeah.
You back in Brooklyn?
We're back in Brooklyn, yeah.
Awesome,
Cafe
awesome.
Sportivo.
All right, let's start. Let's start with Shakur. What'd you see?
You know what? He looks like a real natural lightweight. He's third weight class. He fought you can't take away from him. He fought a bona fide lightweight, a guy who had some good wins over guys in Asia who had come over to America and had some success and had made their name in North America. So he was coming with a good reputation because Yoshino had beaten both Nakatani and Ito, guys that we were familiar with in the U.S. Now, I'm not gonna tell you Yoshino is the best lightweight that you can find, but he's an undefeated guy. He's hungry. He had those solid wins, and of course, I felt like Shakur needed the kind of fight against a natural lightweight just to see if he can handle that kind of physicality, and he handled it with flying colors. Honestly, he looks good at lightweight. He looks physically of a size where he can fill in nicely, and he's gonna have some success.
Where do you rank that win? Do you rank that above Oscar beating Oscar, or do you rank that?
I mean, I think Oscar Valdez had a bigger reputation at 130 pounds. He had been an ex-world champion. Yoshino had never been an ex-world champion, but I rank it as a good win because the guy who's undefeated and hasn't accomplished everything yet is really hungry. So you beat a hungry guy and you're able to stop a bona fide lightweight, true lightweight. So I rank it as a good win because people underestimate the hunger of an undefeated fighter. It's a lot tougher to take somebody's off. And that guy was durable. I didn't think the stoppage was necessarily a necessary stoppage, but I think it was only a matter of time anyways.
Awesome. So, I mean, you have your top rank theory.
Yeah, I think Top Rank always has the in boxing in general. You want to always bring in the new star just at the right time where the fading star is kind of out, and I think that Top Rank always intended to do this with Shakur Stevenson and Lomachenko. Obviously, with the war in Ukraine, the Lomachenko situation was a little bit stagnated, and so Devin Haney was able to grab the title instead. So they're going to make Lomachenko and Haney, but I still think the intent is to have Shakur Stevenson overtake Lomachenko as the new star in the stable at or around those weight classes. Obviously, they're now banking on Lomachenko beating Haney, which is not a guarantee, but I still think is the fight that it's going to happen, and I think it's well, we know it's going to happen, but I also think that Lomachenko will beat Haney, and so that'll kind of set up perfectly for Shakur to overtake Lomachenko in the fall, and it works out perfectly. I'll tell you why. Again, Top Rank theory. That's why they're so good. Lomachenko being the undisputed champion at that point, Shakur becomes a guy who not only wins the undisputed title, which he hasn't done yet in any other championships, he's won any other weight classes, but also beats a bona fide star, a guy who's a battle tested and had, two-time Olympic gold medalist, multiple weight world champion, all this other stuff, a guy who everybody respects as very good, especially Lomachenko's coming in off the Haney win. It makes him that much more of a viable champion to beat. And Shakur beating him in a pay-per-view main event solidifies Shakur as a pound-for-pound entrant, a pay-per-view star, and going forward after that, the undisputed lightweight champion who is also a pay-per-view star going forward. I just think while other promoters and other networks try to force pay-per-view guys onto us, like I've always felt Gervonta Davis as a pay-per-view star was forced onto us. He never really fought a pay-per-view worthy opponent. He's a good fighter, but the pay-per-view status of Gervonta Davis sort of forced on us. They sold the shit out of him. They try to fit a round peg into a square hole. Yes, okay, he sells now because you can, the marketing power of TV can market. If you market anybody and push it enough, people will buy. But at the end of the day, it always has felt not genuine. Well, I think Top Rank turns you into a pay-per-view star in a genuine manner where they do it, they shift you the right way. And I think Shakur Stevenson is going to be doing that. I think he's going to be the guy who, is genuinely moved in at the right moment in order to not just become a star, because he's already kind of a star, but become a superstar, a pay-per-view star, and also a pound-for-pound list perennially, on the pound-for-pound list perennially, So I think that's the way it shapes up. I think that
where do you rate those two who talking about Tank, and people all always say he hasn't fought nobody. Like, where would you put Yoshino if Tank beat Yoshino on his list?
I think he would be an
Over
average.
Santa Cruz?
I think Yoshino name wise would be an average opponent for Tank, like the way kind of guys he's already beaten. While for Shakur, I think Shakur has taken on guys even at the lower weight class who are more recognizable. You know what I'm saying? And not fought them on pay per view. They haven't forced their pay per view status on us because Top Rank wants, when Top Rank is ready to make you a pay per view star, they're ready to make you a pay per view star that's gonna really, really deserve to be that pay per view star. They want to genuinely make you an organic pay per view star. And I think the way they're going about it is going to make Shakur a genuine organic pay per view star.
What do you think?
I think Tank's pay per view stardom has sort of been forced on us. Like, Mayweather didn't become a pay per view star overnight. Remember, he fought Diego Corrales on HBO. You know what I'm saying? It was not a pay per view fight. So, but little by little, Top Rank turned him into a pay-per-view star. Obviously, then he went his own way, became independent and stayed a pay-per-view star. But ultimately, Floyd Mayweather turning into a pay-per-view star was done organically. It wasn't forced on us. And again, it's not a knock on Tank's ability. He's a good fighter. I just don't think he's a bona fide pay-per-view star just because you make all his fights pay-per-view.
What do you think of the comment saying Shakur doesn't have pay-per-view style?
I think Shakur is this generation's Mayweather. So, did Mayweather have a pay-per-view style? Listen, if you combine it with marketability, personality-wise, and also fighting stars and not just fighting guys who are just there just to be there, you fight out because you become a pay. Remember, Floyd cemented his pay-per-view status. He'd already fought the Zab Judah fight as a on pay-per-view, but really cemented his pay-per-view status when he beat.
Was that a slip or a drop?
Huh?
Was that a slip or?
I was a knockdown. I thought that was a knockdown.
Was a knockdown?
I thought Zab knocked him down. Yeah, it's a flash, but that the left hand landed pretty solid. But nonetheless, if we're going to go into the details of that, probably Floyd should have been disqualified for Roger coming into the ring too.
I forgot about that.
Because let's not forget, they took away Roy Jones' undefeated record on a stupid technicality like that. So Floyd was fortunate not to lose his on the same kind of technicality. Very interesting.
We have some breaking news today. Jake Paul versus Nate Diaz. Immediate thought, reaction.
That's interesting, man. He's going back to the MMA guys as opposed to boxers, but I guess he didn't fare well with Tommy Fury as he thought he should have, as he thought he might have. I've heard good things about Nate Diaz's boxing. I still think it's going to be the best boxer in the MMA world that Fury has fought. That Jake Paul has fought. I underestimated Tommy Fury's boxing ability. I thought he boxed beautifully. Good sense of distance, good maintenance of distance, good control of range, and a good jab. He had a boxing mind. He fought the fight in a boxing mindset, and it confused Jake. Jake has always fought MMA guys, and now I think Jake fighting Nate. Nate is the best boxer out of the MMA guys he's fought, but it's still an MMA guy, so I'm not sure. Granted, it's not the easiest return fight. I'll tell you that. He just lost to Tommy Fury. It's not easy because Nate is a dog. Nate will continuously take it to you, no matter how much you might be beating on him.
It doesn't matter the type of fight it is. If it's MMA, boxing, it doesn't matter. Huh?
Yeah, Nate, one way or another, Nate will figure a way to beat on you too, in one way or another. Let's not forget the first round he had against Conor McGregor. Where Conor beat the shit out of him, and they just like, all right, bro, we're gonna go at it, and then he came back and won the fight, So Nate's very durable. You're not just gonna. I don't think you're just gonna get him out of there. He'll force a pace on you that's uncomfortable. Again,
what's that height? What's that height matchup? Do you know how tall Nate is?
I think Nate might be taller, but it'll be interesting. I don't know. I think Nate might be taller.
That's where do you rank that in any other cruiserweight? How for their seventh, Jake 6-1 for their 8th fight fighting Nate Diaz?
He's still fighting tougher opposition than most prospects, but of course when you're charging pay-per-view for it, you kind of have to. You put yourself in the position where you're taking chances, but you're making pay-per-view money for it. So you kind of have to, you got to take that kind of risk if you want pay-per-view money, So, you take the good with the bad, I guess,
he's going back to his form, that was working instead of fighting a real boxer, but it might back him. Well,
I do think Nate, listen, I think Jake's progression has been solid. Again, let's not forget, he doesn't have a background in anything but wrestling as a high schooler, right? So I mean, his boxing was starting from scratch at zero. So considering we started from scratch at zero, his boxing hasn't been that bad. But still, this is not the easiest comeback coming off the loss, because I think in comparison to the other MMA guys he's fought, okay, people can say, okay, he's going backwards, going back to MMA guys, boxing MMA guys. But in comparison to the other MMA guys he's fought, this is still the best boxer that he's fought in out of the MMA guys, not counting Tommy Fury. Tommy Fury's not an MMA guy, but this is still the best boxer out of the MMA guys that he's fought. So he certainly didn't go backwards too much, if at all, you know?
Yeah. I mean, speaking of guys, skinny guys, Fundora, the knockout.
Oof.
Your immediate.
We
It
always
looked
saw
like a
Fundora-
giraffe falling in the jungle.
I was shocked. I mean, I think was it Barboza? Was it Brian
Mendoza.
Mendoza. I think Mendoza, you know, he was solid, but nothing really stuck out to me to like it made me think he was gonna get Fundora out of there like that. That was really Fundora always got hit a lot, but you always felt like you always figured like he was like a Corrales worker. He's gonna take it and eventually he's gonna get you, you know. And this time, I mean, that was some well-timed left hook. And then the problem was he went on pause while he stood up. He just stood up. He stayed on pause. And
it was like a video game glitch. It
was like a free overhand right that he just drilled him with. And then I don't know, because I've never been knocked out this way. So I've seen several guys do it, and I'm almost like, when I see it, I'm like, if you're that cognizant, are you quitting, or are you like, or do you think, or do you maybe you're so stunned that you don't realize you're on the ground? I don't know. I've never felt that. I've either been knocked out. I've either been out, like, to knock me out like that, you had to knock me out badly, or I was just like, I couldn't.
You never got knocked out cold except for that amateur event for like 2 seconds, right?
And even the amateur fight, I rolled over and like tried to get up within a couple seconds, but when I rolled over, the referee had stopped it. So
yeah,
I could never imagine myself like looking at the referee while he's counting, smiling at him, talking to him, and not trying to get up. But maybe
he just couldn't control his body.
Maybe he's feeling something that I've never felt before. Maybe he is hurt and he doesn't know what's going on. But if you're cognizant enough to talk to the referee as he's counting you and smiling, I think maybe you can get up. So I don't know if Fundora quit or if it just I don't know. It's a sensation that I can't say I felt in that way. You know what I'm saying? I can remember Michael Moore get knocked out by George Foreman, and the referee's counting him, and only Moore's neck is off the canvas. He's on his back, and his neck is kind of like up. Like it looks like he's trying to get up. The count is going, and he's got his head up, but the rest of his body's flat on his back, and he couldn't move. No, he's knocked out.
Yeah.
But Fundora's sitting down, smiling, talking, but he's like taking the whole count. You know, so it was really weird. I don't want to make a judgment.
Yeah.
But like, I could see how somebody might think they'll quit. I mean, at first glance, I'm like, dude, this guy quit. He just took the whole 10 count willingly, you know. But maybe exhibit sensation. I don't know. I don't know. You know.
So yeah, he's still a young guy. Like, where do you think he goes from here? And he was, you know, he's kind of. He was minus 1100, which is insane.
Yeah, you put Mendoza on your parlay with a couple other fights.
I know. I was about to parlay Fundora with all the other fights with Izzy and Bam and Shakur, but I ended up like it didn't go through. But
you never know. You never know when a plus 1100 is gonna hit for you. I don't know. I mean, Fundora I think he makes fun fights. It's certainly a bad loss to take, though. I mean, these guys, you know, he was being mentioned in the Charlo sweepstakes for the undisputed title, so it's certainly a bad loss. But I don't know.
Charlo's super welterweight, right? I thought Charlo's junior middleweight.
Maybe he goes up. Maybe he's so small. Maybe now is an excuse to just start over at middleweight. You know, maybe reset everything and go to the middleweight division.
Oh, he is light middleweight. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
I cannot imagine a guy like that makes weight easily. I cannot imagine. So maybe after a loss like that, it maybe alleviates the pressure of saying maybe I don't have to make weight anymore, and I'll just move up and start the campaign at the next weight class. Possible.
I mean, even at I can't believe he's 6'4" at 150.
Even at 160, he's tall. So
yeah,
but you know, you get to keep on 6 more pounds. You know, maybe he's having a problem. You know?
I mean, people give Benavidez shit for being at 168 and he's 6'3". He's still smaller. Speaking of, and I mean, we'll take a jump to the smallest guy who fought on Saturday. I don't know if you saw it, but people talk about Bam a lot.
I saw the highlights, man.
You saw the highlights?
Winning with a broken jaw and boxing so well with a broken jaw. We've seen guys finish fights with broken jaws. We've seen guys, you know, tough it out with broken jaws and not get stopped. I remember I was at the Pernell Whitaker fight with Felix Trinidad when he got his jaw broke. But man, to come back and box that well despite a broken jaw, that I've never seen. I'd be hard pressed if anybody out there knows of a situation where a guy got his jaw broken and boxed well enough to win the fight, the remainder of the fight. That's pretty impressive. I can't think off the top of my head if I've seen it. I've heard of Muhammad Ali with his jaw broken against Ken Norton. All these fights where guys wind up with broken jaws, you just give them credit to finish the fight, even though they lose on points, right? But man, I mean, Bam boxed very well, even with the broken jaw.
I met him at the Robert Garcia training camp about a year ago. And I don't know, he was one of the nicest guys I met in boxing. And real humble. What does a flyweight have to do? Or is he super flyweight now?
I mean, he's flyweight and super flyweight. He goes. I think this fight he actually came back down to fly.
What does a flyweight have to do to get more publicity? Like bring eyes to the.
I think a fighter like that, he needs name opponents. And he's had them in and around his weight class. He beat Quadras. He beat Serungsai. Maybe he can get Chocolatito. When they at those weight classes, when there's good rivalries, they end up making more money and becoming more stars. When there's no big rivalries, it's a little tougher. Although Ricardo Lopez dominated everybody and still was able to become a pretty good star. But nonetheless, I think Bam has enough name guys in and around that weight class to where he can gain some star power. And I
want to see the Sonny Edwards fight. That's what people keep talking about on Twitter, because I see him on Twitter all the time. I see him mentioned, and I see Sonny on Twitter a lot.
Sonny's quick-handed, quick-footed. But I think Sonny also had a real problem. He was able to keep the title by disqualification, no contest against was it Romero, the guy that lost to Chocolatito? Was it Romero? What was his name? The Mexican guy. He was a Mexican guy. He ended up losing Chocolatito. He was 112 pounder. That guy, I don't know what happened. I think Matchroom had that guy too. I don't know what became of him. He lost on points he lost pretty wide.
Felix Alvarado?
No, he lost pretty wide to Chocolatito. And he had fought Sonny Edwards. I think he hit Sonny Edwards when he was down, and they ended up, it ended up not being a KO, no contest, or maybe something like that. But he was on his way to roughen up Edwards a little bit. And I thought Sonny was able to be fortunate enough to get out of that fight with the belt. But then I don't know. I forget his name. He ended up losing to Chocolatito though. He went up in weight a few pounds, and Chocolatito beat him. But that guy could be I think that guy, because he was with Matchroom. He was a rough customer. I think that guy could be a good opponent for Bam soon. Although I haven't seen what he's done lately, to be honest. I haven't seen him since the Chocolatito fight. But he was
somebody in the comments can mention it. I'm not sure. I'm looking at.
I can't remember his name now, but he was pretty rough. He was a pretty rough guy. 112 pounder. All right, guys. So next segment, we're gonna be reviewing some footage that you guys sent to me. I'll be having a look at some of them. I won't be able to get to all of them today. We'll look at a couple, and I'll give my viewpoints, and I'll give some critiques, and maybe some pointers and some help.
First, before we get into the footage, I wanted to ask you, I was hitting the bag today. What does somebody like who's taller do to kind of get a better center of gravity when they're hitting the bag and not feel too like shelled down?
Well, you don't be on your front foot.
Don't be front foot.
Yeah, gotta get off your front foot, especially if you're tall. You're giving up your height when you're on your front foot. You're saying keeping your weight on your back foot when you're tall is even more important. I think keeping the weight on the back foot is all the more important. Unless you're inside, you're a hooker. Then your weight should be on your front foot, but only on the inside. Even from the outside, I don't think your weight should ever be on your front foot, because you make yourself a target for jabs and lead hooks from the outside. But on the inside, if you have a good left hook, if you're a good banger to the body, then okay. At that point, the weight should be on your front foot. But from middle to long range, I don't think your weight should ever be on your front foot. I think you should always be on your back foot. And especially if you're tall, it's even more important, because you make life miserable and easier for yourself. So you make life miserable for your opponent, because it makes it that much more difficult for him to close the gap on you.
Cool. All right. Thank you, Paulie. I'll take that to the bag. I'm going to start sharing my screen. Our first submission is from Bobby Rooney. It's right here. Yeah. I don't know what this could be.
Oh, this is Beat. And you see Beat, he's got his feet on, his weight on his front foot here. Got his weight on the front foot. He's a shorter guy. But of course, look, notice he's on the inside. And on the inside is where you want to have your weight on your front foot if you're a good hooker. And of course, we know Beetlejuice is a good hooker. Bobby is a bit taller. Bobby should be able to should be creating a bit more space on Beat, because he's in Beat's wheelhouse right now. On the inside, with Bobby having the height advantage he has, he should be getting off those ropes. He should be initiating a clinch here so that he can stop the onslaught. And then on the break, you should take the fight back. You should walk the fight back to the middle of the ring where he can keep Beat on the end of his jab. Because a short guy like Beat on the end of the jab is where you want to have him. But if you let a short guy like Beat, who's got a powerful left hook on the inside like this, he's going to assault you. And then you see Bobby's having some trouble on the inside because Beat is moving his hands. He's at close range. And of course, Beat naturally will have his feet on his weight on his front foot because he's a big hooker, you know. And so this is the problem. So Bobby here needs to change the distance. He needs to get off the corner, get off those turnbuckles, and bring the thing back to the middle of the ring where he could trouble Beat from the outside with a jab. At this range here, Beetlejuice has all of the advantages.
All right, love it. Thanks, Beat. Bobby, keep sending clips. Who we got next? We got Caleb Balazes. Caleb, sorry if I butchered your name. Here we go. What's this? 10 minutes? I'm going to skip through this, but what do we got? Oh, we got an amateur fight.
Okay. But a little bit of a distance here. The camera's a little bit of distance because it's a screen. It's a small screen inside my phone. But let me see if I can make a.
All right, let's see if he sent me which one he is.
Is he in the red? I assume.
I'm going to find out right now.
I assume he's in the red because the camera person is recording him in the corner.
He's in the red.
Yeah, the camera person is recording him getting ready for the belt.
Been training for 2 years and he won this by UD.
Okay, nice. Well, let's see. Let's have a look at this footage. So, like I said, the screen is a little bit small inside my phone screen.
We could see it big though, so just
okay.
Give us what you got. All right.
Let's see. Right now we're waiting for the bell to ring. Let's see. It's warming up there. See what we do. Okay, touch gloves. Back over here. Waiting for the ref. Okay, here we go. Okay. Jabs to the stomach, jabs to the body. Ref's in the way now. Let's see, it's a little too far away here. I like that jab to the body. I like that he's angled out. If he goes backwards, if he steps back, he doesn't go step back square. He stays back with an angle. And I like that stepping back with an angle because you can check hook when you're at an angle. When you're squared and you step straight back, it's a little bit more difficult not only to check hook, but you also make yourself a big target. So I like that we got to be careful pulling out his head there. Sometimes, and again, when you're going back, it's not, even if you're not squaring up, you don't always want to go back straight up. Sometimes you want to bend those knees and push back, lower your center of gravity and step back that way. Push off your front foot and explode backwards. And, shoot back with something. That way you kind of draw your opponent in and shoot back with something. Also, if you're going to step straight back after you land a shot, use your left hand sort of as your lead hand sort of as a spear, like a sort of like a fencer, stick it out there, like a lot like Shakur Stevenson likes to do when he steps back. Extend that lead hand so that you prevent you have that measuring stick out there that your opponent can't penetrate. But again, you need to combine that with your balance being good and not coming up too high, because regardless, if you're up too high and you have that hand out there, somebody can come over the top of it and with an overhand right. You want to have that. I notice he goes straight back a lot after he throws. There's a nice little spin out. When you do that pivot out, you could use a check hook if you draw your opponent in. It's got a good jab. I like how he uses his jab. This kid seems to be following him around the ring. The kid he's fighting should be cutting the ring off on him. He's not, so he's making his life easier because he's able to circle him and box him from the outside nicely. Now he's circling the ring nicely instead of going straight back. I like how he's circling the ring here, using that jab. Stepping around. Also some feints. I always like feints. Guys who fight on the outside. I was a big feints guy. Guys who fight on the outside can mix different feints. I like, foot feints, arm feints, shoulder feints, head movement a little bit, to sort of settle yourself down a little bit where you're not always moving, but instead you sort of be a little more stationary at times and you give some head movement. And that head movement is not just for defensive purposes. It's also to create a rhythm to where you're deceptive when you get off your punches. So when I was younger, I used to think head movement was only about defense. It's also about offense because it makes you a little bit like a cobra, like you're a bit deceptive, and then you kind of pounce right off of that rhythmic head movement. He's got good footwork here. He's circling now. He's not going straight back as much as he was earlier in the fight. And I like that he's circling the ring. But again, I think the guy he's fighting should be cutting him off. I mean, the guy he's fighting is not cutting off the ring at all. So it's making his life a lot easier. He's able to circle freely and step just out of range and then step back in range with his shots. Got to be careful pulling out up high once in a while. Once in a while, he pulls up high when he pulls out. You got to be careful with that. Again, sometimes you got to bend your knees and step around. Step back sometimes bend your knees when you're stepping around. You gotta keep that high guard or extend that hand, like I said before, when you're stepping back. But nice work here.
All right. Perfect. Thank you, Caleb. Appreciate it. Keep sending more clips. Keep grinding, right? 2 years in, won by UD, not bad. All right, we got ZZ Boxing.
Let's see what ZZ Boxing.
Got some bag work.
Some bag work, ZZ Boxing. Looks like a southpaw here. Looks like a southpaw here. Yeah. Looks like a southpaw here again. Right. Okay. Some nice work. Make the shots. One thing I'm noticing here, you want to make the shots come from your chin. Or, you know, I was a guy who didn't always have my hands up, but when you make especially the backhand, more so than the front hand, the backhand, make it fire from your chin. It's more deceptive and it reaches up high. Also on the cross, don't lift your elbow up unless you're throwing it overhand. If you're throwing a straight cross with the backhand, don't lift your elbow up, because I used to call that wings. You don't create wings. You don't want wings when you're throwing a cross. You want that elbow to be in tight and you want it to fire straight through. If you lift the elbow up as you're throwing a straight cross from the backhand, you're going to take power away. So you don't, what I call it is wings. Don't make wings with your backhand unless you're throwing it overhand. If you're throwing it straight, don't create wing. Keep that elbow in tight and shoot that straight shot right from where you're throwing it. Shoot it from your shoulder and your back. If you shoot it from your shoulder and your back, you will not lift that elbow as high, you know, as wide. Because once you put it wide, you're slowing the punch down, you're slowing down the cross more, and you're also taking away power from it. When that elbow is in tight and you shoot that cross from your shoulder and your back, you get more leverage and more range on it. If you're gonna hook from around the side with it, which I sometimes like for southpaws, throwing it overhand, that's fine. Then you can lift it, but you're throwing that's a different angle of a punch. Also with the jab, you know, don't be so much on your front foot when you're throwing that jab, you know, because if you get on your front foot when you're throwing the jab, then you're already going to be on your front foot when you're throwing the cross. You want the cross to come from your back leg, okay, the drive from it. So when you drive that cross, if you've already put your weight on your front foot on the jab, that means the cross in the backhand is not going to be able to have as much weight on it. So you want to make sure when you jab forward, when you're throwing that 1-2, you step forward you push forward with your back foot, you push forward on the jab, but your weight still stays on the back foot. And then when you throw that cross, you transfer the weight. You don't want to transfer the weight on the jab, because then when your weight is already on your front foot and you throw that cross, there's not a lot of weight driving behind it. So those are a couple of things. And then lastly, don't just hit the bag by going straight back and forth. You circle it, you know, step around, all this other stuff. You don't want to just go in and out, back, forth, in and out on the bag. You know, that's not a real mimicking of a fight. Step around to the side of it, shoot shots from that angle, change your levels a little bit, up high, bend your knees a little bit, maybe give some head movement. It's not always about hitting the bag, stepping back, hitting the bag, stepping back, hitting the bag, stepping back. You want to have a little bit more of a versatility, a little bit more creativity to what you're doing as well. And that sometimes it just requires slowing things down a little bit, and then working on a couple of different things. But what I'll take for this, just to not over instruct in this video, keep the elbows in tight on the straight cross, and make sure when you're throwing the cross, your weight is on your back foot. Don't transfer your weight on the jab, because if you transfer your weight to the front foot on the jab, that means you're not going to be able to push off the back leg when you throw the cross. Perfect.
Thanks, Paulie. And guys, keep sending in your videos. I love to see it, and we'll keep doing this.
All right, guys, that's all for today. Thanks for tuning into our inaugural Combat and Coffee episode. Me and my espresso, and boxing talk, and also boxing tutorials where you guys send your videos. I really enjoy checking out what you guys send, and you know, helping you guys out if I can. Don't forget that every 2 weeks, every 2 Wednesdays, where I work at ProBox TV, we have live fights on ProBoxTV.com. It's live and it's free with advertisements. If you want it with no advertisements, it's just $1.99 a month on the app. But don't forget, every 2 weeks, I'll be live next week with Luis Collazo, and returning ex-world champion Luis Collazo is returning against, I think, Edel Ruiz is his opponent. That'll be live next Wednesday on ProBox TV. And the date for that is April the 19th, I think, or April the 18th, next Wednesday, whatever it is.
It's right before Tank and Ryan. It's right before Tank and Ryan.
Oh, yeah, so the 19th. Yeah, so
April next week we're gonna be doing all Tank Ryan, and we'll get into that.
But next Wednesday night, if you know, it's weekday boxing. It's so you know, you don't have any, you know, if you don't just wait to get your fix for boxing on the weekends. Wednesday nights every 2 weeks, I'm on ProBox TV, ProBoxTV.com. Check it out. Next week we got Luis Collazo in the main event. So check us out every 2 weeks. We got very good competitive fights. It's the equivalent of your old Friday night fights if you really look at it. But I think you guys will be happy with what we bring to you on ProBox TV. So ProBoxTV.com, check it out.
Production's great. Thanks, Paulie. Thanks, guys.
All right, guys. I'm Paulie Malignaggi. This is Paulie TV.